So we'll start with the opening prayers. Let's do it in English. ACI 4, class 9. And start.
Here is the great earth,
Filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, make them the paradise of the Buddha, and offer it all to you. Let it see every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnamanalakam Nirtayami.
I go for refuge
To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being.
I go for refuge
To the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being.
I go for refuge to the
Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. So keep your eyes closed for a few minutes. And then I'm going to read that one more time, the refuge, and just listen and think about what it is that we just prayed for. Some of you have been in ACI 2, having learned about what it is to go for refuge. Some of you haven't, but try to understand what it is that you are saying. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do, in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Just sit with that and ask yourself, why are you here? And what does it mean to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? this line, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. It means that you want to become pure. You want to be fully happy. So you can help other people get there too. You want to be outside of pain. Outside of samsara. And you want that for all beings too. And because of all beings, you bloody well are going to do it yourself, right? So you can be of service. And when you get to that place where you no longer have to worry about this poor me, that takes up all your time and all your energy all day long, worrying about this me. Imagine getting to a place where you don't have to worry about that anymore. Where all you worry about is, what can I do for you? Because you don't need anything yourself anymore. And then you can slowly come back to your room. Tunji, this is running?
This is from the green light on, right?
Yeah. Okay. For those of you who have a book practice, it's very auspicious to make an entry in your book right before class starts. So, just so you know. Hi, Nina. Nice to have you. All right. So, 2 more classes. Class 9. After this course, mid-April, April 10th, we'll start How Karma Works, the next course, which should be very useful. First, this course. So last week I wasn't here, and Mishi taught, and she went over 6 proofs. Right? Were you here, Carol?
I wasn't
You weren't here. Okay. Those are in your reading. The reading for this class and last week's class is 1 reading, and you can read that, and you can also listen on Ustream if you want to catch that one up. So today there's 10 proofs total that we were going to go through. So she did 6, and today we do the remaining ones. So we're trying to prove past and future lives. That's what this course is about, right? So we're on proof 7. So if you have missed all the classes prior to this one, don't worry. Just listen and see what you can take out of it. Hopefully there'll be something you can take home. All right. So right now we're going to consider that the living tissue in your body, the four sense powers, the four elements which have one pole, the sense powers, that they are not a main cause for your mind. Living tissue in your body is not the main cause for your mind. And remember, this is Dharmakirti trying to convince this Hindu group, Sharvakas, to convince them that, because the Sharvakas believe that this is it. There's only one life, and that's that, right? So Dharmakirti is trying to go through all his proofs. So he's saying, consider that the living tissue in your body is not the main cause for your mind. It's not the material cause that turns into your mind. And I think many Westerners believe this too, right? And Dharmakirti does agree that these sense powers do have a supporting purpose for the mind. They do play a role, but they are not the main cause. They couldn't be. Because if they were, say you damage one of the sense powers, and if the mind and body were linked in that sense, then your mind would have to be damaged too, right? So it couldn't be. And I was thinking about this a lot, as much as I could, considering it's spring break and I have kids running around and I'm trying to get my mind around this. But I was thinking about what came up for me was giving birth to my first son, most specifically, right? Which brought up all sorts of stuff. But I couldn't get him out. I tried for 18 hours and he would not come, right? I was in labor for 18 hours. And I think, I can't even remember, several hours of those I was trying to push him out. And he wouldn't come. And it was in excruciating pain for, so long. And so exhausted beyond, can't even imagine anymore right now. But they were just talking, okay, we gotta give her a C-section if it's not happening in the next few minutes because it's starting to get dangerous, right? And so here I am laying and I'm pushing and trying to do this and I just couldn't. So I was in this moment, I was giving up. I'm like, I can't anymore, I can't. And then this doctor comes in. All this time there was no doctor, there was only nurses there. And this doctor walks in, and according to my husband, he smelled like scotch. In my memory, he only smelled like cigarettes really strongly. He walks in with his jacket still on, and he walks up to me, and he's like, what the fuck have you been doing all this time? You've been not trying at all. And he's like, stop feeling sorry for yourself, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. And that's how he's talking to me, this big dude. And I'm like, what? Which was exactly what I needed, by the way, because I was done, right? Yeah. And I hated this man so much in that moment, which propelled me to find this new energy that I didn't think I had anywhere left. Because I was so angry. I'm like, well, I'll show you what I can do, And that's when my child came out. So, in hindsight, yes, he was an angel giving me exactly what I needed, because if he would have walked in and he would have said, oh, poor you, have you been trying for 18 hours, I would have said, yeah, I can't do it, and I wouldn't have been able, but because he did this, he just knew exactly what I needed. Anyways, so So I am in excruciating pain, but I have now this baby in my hand. So if the living tissue would be the cause for my mind, my body's in severe pain, but my mind is ecstatic. I'm so happy, right? I have this baby in my arms, this perfectly little being. And so for me, that is a proof that it can't be the main cause. Yes, it can be a supporting factor, but it's not the main thing that will turn my mind, right? Because if it was, then I would always have to do that, and it's not the case. I just proved that to you with this story, right? And here in scripture, they give the example of this holy bodhisattva that was walking, I think, from one monastery to another, and a demon came on his path and told him, "I need your eyeball." And bodhisattva, sure, popped his eyeball out and gave it to him, right? No problem. However, this demon actually squashed it, and that's a different story. But the fact that he was able to, with joy, because this is a high practicing bodhisattva, he doesn't think about himself. He thinks, oh, you need an eyeball? I'll give you what you want, right? There's no me involved at that level anymore. So that's what they give as an example, that if you would take out your eyeball, then your mind should be distressed. But he wasn't distressed in this case. And then they also point out, like, for us, we start with vegetables. We don't give eyeballs away. When you're ready, you can, but at this, I don't know, if you're like me, yeah, I'll give carrots. So it can't be the cause. That's the point of this story, right? So if the body and mind were connected, and the body experienced that much pain, then the mind must reflect that pain. So it's not.
Mariska,
Yeah.
does it depend on your past karmas? Because
Well, that's where we're going, Yasmin.
okay.
Yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
people have mental distress
Oh yeah,
a lot.
sure. Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry. We're working our way up there. Right. And any of these proofs that we're going through, some might resonate more than others. That's fine. You can, take it home and think about it some more. And you don't have to accept it. It's all like planting seeds in your mind. And as you study more, in time, more will make sense. And in 5 years from now, it'll all be a no-brainer. And if it's not right now, that's totally fine. It's good. It's good to think about it, contemplate it, and struggle with it. Absolutely. So the Sharvagas say, but when people get drunk, the sense powers are affected, and the mind gets affected, right? But Geshe Roche couldn't remember what the argument was against that. But thinking about it myself, then I'm thinking, I actually know people that can drink so much and their mind's not affected. And then I know myself. I drink, half a beer and I'm completely loopy. So, it's not, again, if it was, then it should always be the case, and it's not, right?
I'm just thinking too, you can be conscious that you're loopy. Now that's, once again, your mind is telling you, hey, your body doesn't know something's wrong, it's just accepting it, but your mind is saying, something's different now. Right? So that could be, that comes to my mind for me. And that would be karma too, though, because a person who's not able to differentiate themselves from being really drunk and acts, well, their karma is coming through in terms of whatever behavior they have, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would think. Because, in terms of people who do not so great stuff
Sure.
when they're
Yeah.
when they're under the influence
Mm-hmm.
because they're not conscious. So that it's you see what I'm saying?
But it is, there's obviously a connection, but they're saying like it's not the main cause. And one of the vows that we take is not to drink alcohol, and it's not, it is because of that. Because when you drink too much often, but not always, for many people, but not for everyone, you lose the ability to make, good decisions. So just to prevent any problems like that, they say let's just not do it. Right? But it's not the cause, because if it wasn't, every single person would experience that, and that's not the case. So there's definitely a connection. Okay, so that is proof number 7. And I was also thinking, when I'm sick, recently, I've been sick quite a bit, and I'm laying in bed and my body's so achy, yet my mind, I'm like super happy, I didn't used to be like that at all, but these days that seems to be a new thing. So again, when your body's in distress, then your mind should be in distress too, and that's not always the case. So that is proof number 7, and I'll recap that. Consider the elements in the form of sense powers. The sense powers are not the unique cause of mind, because when they are damaged, the mind is not always damaged. If the tissue were the material cause of your mind, then your mind should always be damaged when you hurt your sense powers, your living tissue. Okay? That makes sense, huh? Yeah. Good. So now, proof number 8. Dharmakirti is going to turn the tables from proof number 7. He's saying, not only do the sense powers not cause the basis of the mind causes the basis for the sense powers. So he's switching it around. Okay, so now he's saying the mind, but listen, he's not saying the cause, he's saying the basis. Why? Why would he say that? Why couldn't the mind be the cause for the sense? He's saying the word basis.
Cause is, that's a tricky word. Doesn't it sort of? Does it suggest self-existence?
No, not in this case, but that's a good thought. No, it's called, remember when we saying it has to be made of the same stuff. So if mind was a cause for living tissue, then living tissue should be like mind. But living tissue is material, right? And mind is not. So it couldn't be the actual cause, but it could be a basis. So he's using the word basis. Remember, Tanjit printed out the Wheel of Life picture before. Remember that one? This has all the 12 links in it for suffering life. And we'll talk about this a little bit more next week, but link number 2, so this one is a potter, and that represents immature karma, which means it's not ripened yet, okay? And that's the karma you do throughout your life. So everything you say, you think, and you do, good and bad, unripened yet, okay? So that's link number 2. Then link number 10, that would be this one. I know you can't see it from here, That's the picture is a pregnant woman, and that's ripe karma. So that karma is going to project you into your next life, into a new birth. So the difference between the second link and the 10th link, second link unripened, 10th link ripened karma, are links 8 and 9. And links 8 and 9, they represent desire, that a type of desire that triggers the karma and causes it to project a new birth. And next class will be all about that, about that. Yeah, it's an important subject if you want to learn to get out of rebirth. Right? You need to learn about these types of desire, because when we die, we grasp so tightly to this body and to this life, to this me, right? And by doing so, especially at that moment of death, apparently is really, really important. What's in your mind stream? What's on your mind? So if you have a state of mind that's grasping to seeing this thing as self-existent, this me that I am as self-existent, then it's going to trigger a next birth of the similar type. So we want to get out of that whole wheel altogether, right? Yeah.
But it's too simplistic to say you could be leading a crappy life and then right at the moment of birth say, I just want enlightenment, I just want to see emptiness.
Yeah.
Which explains why some people have that final sacrament with the Catholic too, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I do think that I mean, the way you feel at your deathbed will be a result of how you've been kind of grasping all along. I do think in some extraordinary cases it could be what you say, if that is so deeply wished. I do think that it possibly could be like that. But the reason why we're here is to get this already in our mind stream going, so that when we die, it'll be easier for us not to feel so tight grasped to ignorance, right? So we're setting ourselves up for our next life, right? Okay, so but next week, that's what we're talking about, about this craving and aversion and the things that keep you in samsara. It's very interesting. But that might be a little bit, far-fetched to try to convince the Sharvagas of that, right? Because as a recap, we say the mind's karma projects the next life and its physical form, and is therefore the cause of the senses. The things we do, say, and think in this life ripen into desire, and as we die, that desire triggers the karma that projects the next life. Your mind is the basis of the physical senses, and not vice versa. Yeah.
So does that mean it's the, I think the word was kin or yin, the secondary? Is that what you mean by basis?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because they're saying it's not the main cause, but it's the basis. But it is so strong. Yeah.
Because I think in that diagram it's split into
No,
two, right?
yeah.
So it's either this or this.
It's
so
a
if
good
it's not
point.
this, then it has to be
Yeah.
this.
But see, maybe this question will get answered in the next bit of the class. Because in the end, it's the karma, right, that projects your next body, how you see yourself. But I know what you're asking. Let's see if we can answer this. I do believe that it would be the contributing factor, because he says it's not the main cause. It's because the body itself would be the cause for the next body, right? Yeah. No, well, hopefully we'll get there. So let's consider the mind. Proof 9. The mind is the cause for the mind to stay. So think about that for a second. Your mind is the cause of your mind to stay. Remember Lama John last class on Tuesday, he said, you can kill yourself, but you're never going to die. Remember that? Because your mind will go on, right? That's what this proof said. The mind is the cause for the mind to stay. What keeps the mind going is the formal mental karma of your past life. What is keeping you alive? Why does your mind go on? Why doesn't your mind stop before you die? Why doesn't your mind appear to stop before your body does? We don't know if your mind stops, like the Sharvadas say. They cannot prove that it stops. And it doesn't stop, but they cannot prove that it does. But the body stops. But there's no proof that the mind stops.
What about people who die,
Mm-hmm.
like on the operating table, and then
Sure.
and then they're kind of looking down on their bodies, and then come back and they're able to recall all of what's happened. And I think that's what you're saying, right? The mind is still alive, but the body was physically dead for a moment, or a few moments.
But even if the mind is dead, if the body is dead for good, the mind will still be here, right?
Yeah.
The mind does not stop. So Dharmakirti says that the mind the mind, well, here he says the mind causes the sense powers, and the mind is why the mind keeps going. And I think we can have arguments about that. We know, like, some people are young and they die. Some people are old and they die. Some people are sick and they die. Some people are healthy and they die, right? And then the Shervagas would say, well, when you would ask, like, why? Why does a young person die? Well, because sense powers are done. They collapse and it's done. But it doesn't make sense because, sure, in some cases, they get sick and the body slowly this or that, right? But then we have cases where people are fully healthy, but maybe there's a gas leak or something, and they die in that way. So that doesn't make sense. That argument of them doesn't make sense, right? Because you can have a fully healthy person and they can just die just like that. So it has to be something else. It cannot be caused by the sense powers. It can't. Because if it was, then it would always be like that. And actually, in fact, it would be that all of the people would live in the same kind of order. They would all live till an old age, right? And that's not the case. So something else is going on. And in Buddhism, they say, well, that's karma. You have causes into place. Because when someone just dies because of a gas leak, that's how they die. But that's not why they die, right? And that's what in the medical world, it's all about how they die. They got cancer and it spreads this or this way, or the body shuts down because I don't know, because of this or that.
They will have explanations.
They'll have beautiful explanations, but not. They will have explanations about the how it happened, not why, right? If they don't answer the questions in a car crash, why did the one person die and the other person didn't die? Yeah, they might say, well, because of the angle and the this and the that, and they'll have a beautiful story on how it happened, but not why it happened. Why did the one person have to suffer and the other one didn't, right? And that's what Buddhism, they don't actually really care so much about the how, they care about the why. And what can we do to actually stop the whole cycle, right? And to project ourselves into a life where there's no longer pain and suffering, to transform our body and mind into a pure form. Yeah.
Question regarding persons that have passed on but actually considered dead,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow were able to come back
Mm-hmm.
and talk about that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of tells me there's a separation.
Yeah.
Is that I suppose that's a strong karmic link to come back to talk about that experience, or is there a connection there between death and life, or a link there?
Well, in Buddhism, we would say, yeah, that is a karma, right? To have to have, it can be an extremely positive experience, right? That you have put, say it is a really extremely positive experience, then you have put in all the virtues to have this experience, to have this life altering event happen where you will feel completely different and possibly be able to help a lot of other people because now you're a transformed person, type of thing, right? I mean, it's all a karmic event, like anything is, yeah. And why does it happen to them and not to everyone, It's, in Buddhism, they would say that is their karma to have that happen. That's part of their path.
there is human agency in karma, you see. That's what's interesting, right? We can influence karma. It's not just something predestined.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, yeah.
And that's why we're here, you know. If we couldn't influence our karma, it'd be pretty bleak.
Or
Isn't it striking sometimes you have to have the karma to have that human agency?
Yeah.
But sometimes you
to
do,
be
sometimes you
realized,
don't.
to have the realization that we have the human.
So
that
then,
we have that.
then you're always looking at, well,
Yeah.
do I really have free will then, or not?
You have to have the realization.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what I'm understanding here is that we do have human agency. Through our behavior, we can influence it and outcome. And but to know that, that's another thing.
You cannot control it though in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
What you have put in place will ripen, and that can suck hard,
Yes.
you know.
There's human agency and human agency, right? We have human agency, but it's mitigated or it's shaped. It's conditioned by karma that we don't even know about from our past, right? So it's something. There's a mystery to it too.
I think that's where
Absolutely.
the, I mean, it's just the story, the myth, the mythical story with Adam and Eve, right? The desire for the apple, not to eat the apple. So it's the choice that they had to make between that. The
Sure.
same as karma, because it's a choice you have to see that.
When you make a choice, that's I'm thinking. What I'm hearing you saying is that they made an uninformed choice, right? Because they didn't have. They were so young. They didn't have the karma or whatever to see what would happen. And that actually is a great story for us all, right? It's like every person, not everyone. It's such an archetype for all of us. Right? I'm not, I don't want to go much further. But, am I making myself clear?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great train of thought.
Yeah. That's very sweet.
But yeah, whatever comes up, you cannot stop in the moment,
Yes.
but you can choose.
Yeah, that's
But
our
that
human
is a
agency.
karma. That is
Yeah,
a
and
karma.
that is karma
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That can condition. So it's so cyclical and big, right?
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. So shine that wisdom on every situation, and you can destroy eons of negative karma by understanding that you've created every second of your day, right? And by choosing, and I love what Taranjeet and I had a conversation before class, and she's uncomfortable with doing a certain thing, and then she's bringing that in her life to kill that. If you have a problem with a situation, I mean, that takes courage. That takes big time courage. If there's somebody that, I don't know, maybe you don't like, and you start to, in your mind, start to make them offerings, or not just in your mind, doing it in person or anonymous, with the idea behind it, by doing so, I'm going to kill this thing because I'm sick and tired of seeing that in my world. And I know I have created this world that I'm seeing every second of my day. And I don't want to live like that anymore. And that's a choice. And it takes some serious balls. Because it feels so counterintuitive. It does not feel natural. Oh, that person is doing me wrong. Let's make him a cake, Let's make her a cake. That doesn't make any sense. But that's what we're teaching here, to go against the grain of the way you're operating, to create new grooves in your record, to create a new way of thinking that is way more nice than, holding things against people and being upset with people because they did this or that, You're transforming that and seeing them as, oh my God, they are here right in front of me to show me. Who else is going to show me, that I have these parts of my mind that still see people as unkind or this or that, right? That's why they're there. They're showing it to me so I can change it. So thank you for ripening all that bullshit for me, you know?
It reminds me of the video I think you put. I saw it, and it just sort of seeded in my subconscious about a woman on a train in New York who made a cake, and she was icing it on the train, and
Oh.
people were all around her asking her, you know, they're all staring at her like she's a freak from another
Right.
planet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a subway in New York, and people are, well, you're making a cake for someone? She goes, for everybody, for anybody. And people are not connecting or understanding what that's about. In the end, she sliced the cake and she was offering it to everyone on this subway train. And
Yeah.
they were just beside themselves. Like, a lot of them didn't even want to accept this piece of cake because they didn't understand.
I thought that
this
was
act of
weird.
kindness.
And I think that's a good example because a lot of people would not understand what we're talking about here, right? Because it is radical, it's different, but some people would. And I bet you, I mean, that is an amazing way to teach because it's different, it's against the normal, and it will shock people.
I
And it
remember
makes
that.
them feel uncomfortable. And there's this lady sitting beside me, you know, icing a cake in the subway, and it's all messy. And, you know, what the heck is she doing? Like, that is something that will stay with you. And, you know, that will be a story you'll tell other people. You know, one day I was in the, you know, in the subway. And I think that's amazing. And I bet you most people did think it was amazing.
Yeah, in the end, what I really enjoyed the most was there was an old man sitting next to her, and at first he looked at her like she was really awkward and
Yeah.
weird. And when she offered him a piece of cake, he said no at first.
Yeah.
And then he said, you know what, I'll take a piece of that cake.
Yes.
And they had the best little conversation going on, and
Yeah.
he really connected with her, and he saw the essence of her truth, which is actually sharing love with everyone, and
Yeah.
he connected with that.
Sharing and not wanting anything for
Not
herself.
wanting anything other than
Just
to converse
wanting
with
to
her.
create closeness between people or whatever her motivation was. Yeah, I really like that because it is against something we normally do in the subway, right? So it shocks people and it will make an impression. Yeah, I really like. And a lot of teachers teach that way too, right? They'll do shocking stuff because, well, like the man who walked in and my giving birth, you know, he shocked me out of my system, because if he didn't, he would not have helped me, right? And that's how teachers come to your life. They shock you because they want to get you uncomfortable, right? That is actually what the Lama does. They pull that rug over and over from under your feet, because otherwise you're just gonna go through this life in a, you know, I don't know how you say in English. You just do the same thing every day. You know, you go to work and then you have dinner, you watch your movie, you go to bed. You know, everything just becomes normal, mundane. So we need to have someone that, you know, because we most likely won't do that to ourselves because it's uncomfortable. So we need someone to just shock us every once in a while. Yeah.
I just want to add, Mariska, maybe it's my karma, but I think, you know, what you said about, you know, doing something to change your karma.
Yeah.
I think that consciousness is rising. You know, there was a movie recently, some of you probably heard of Pay It Forward. It was a movie about, you know, people just doing these random acts of kindness for someone they don't know, and
Great.
then you know, it's like seeding.
Yeah.
You're seeding your karma. And yeah, there is this term about random acts of kindness, right?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, it's out there and it's growing.
Yeah. No, I think. And why are you seeing that in your world?
Yeah.
That's interesting,
That's
right?
why
'Cause-
I feel like, you know, what you're hearing here is not so, well, hopefully will not be so out there. It's going to be more.
No, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I do hope that that's the
Yeah.
case. And in many cases, I do think you are right, and the world is changing in that sense. But that is a karma to see it that way. I have people in my life that complain about everything, and everything is negative, and you know everything's polluted, and the political situation, and the this and the that, and everything is dark and ugly. This world we live in, right? That's a different way. They won't see this.
Yeah.
So So it will be dependent on your own seeds. If you can see that, amazing. And yeah, your job is to spread it and make that circle wider and wider and wider so everyone can ripple out. Yeah. But it is never, ever self-existent, right? It will always be your seeds, your karma, however you perceive it. Okay, so recap of proof number 9. Mental karma from your past lives cause the mind to continue. When this life is finished, the elements, the senses, the body will stop. There's no proof that the mind does not stop. Dharmakirti, he mentions mental karma because he wants to prove the mind causes mind. And when the karma for this life is ended, the life ends, the senses and the body will stop. Okay, we'll have a 5-minute break and then we'll do the last proof.
Well, that must be a doozy then.
No, it's not. But I think it's just good to stay fresh and just have a little shake it out and
You've been very Mariska, do you need to regroup or can I ask you a question?
no, you can ask.
So you said record in your 6 times a book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Why do you-
a couple of evenings.
You just record the next thing
Mhm.
that is there?
Your entry, yeah.
Okay.
I'm working
and
a
then
lot right now, so
if you want to record something that
can't.
is not in your 6 times thing, you put that under other.
okay.
Like I have an other section.
Yeah.
Huh?
Whatever you want, sure. Yeah.
Other. Like if
Yeah.
there's some
I started in
stuff that came
November.
up in your
Yeah.
I'm kind of full
Yeah,
into it.
great. And if you're really working through
Yeah.
something specific, you can even leave the vows for a couple days and just go 6 times attacking that thing that you want to.
and I did that.
Yeah. And sometimes I've done that if it's something big,
Mostly,
like
yeah, how
2 weeks straight, just this thing.
case managing.
And then the other thing is some stuff is coming up again and again. Like for example today is striking another drawing blood.
It's been very,
Yeah.
very, very special.
And it's kind of like I
The way
striking
that
another.
I
I've
mean,
gone
many of
through
them.
that with all like childhood stuff about striking and all that. Like, but in the near future right now, I don't have anything where I've witnessed it or I've done it or even mentally done it.
But
I don't know.
why
I
would
think
you
when you
why would you hit
so
anybody?
much. There's a
What would what would be a
there's a
reason?
real strong
But why do
belief
people
in
do it?
spirituality.
Out of anger, for discipline.
But even
So
though they've
those
gone
would be
through
the
so
concentric
much, this
circles
is
you can use for that specific job.
generosity,
Some people
giving,
would do that.
Instead of
about
thinking,
yourself.
if you're trying to make an entry and you are not striking yourself and you don't really see anybody strike around you, then you can go, okay, let's look at anger, you know, and use that as an entry instead of looking at your anger or someone else's anger.
So you can take words that you can just kind of extrapolate from there. You can do that.
Some you have to.
Yeah.
That's
It's
some
really
you-
outside
Yeah,
of-
you gotta go. If you don't.
You have to, yeah,
You
you
know,
have to.
that
You
whole,
cannot. And so
they all have suffered.
you should write something down. So just go wider,
But it,
bigger.
to me,
You
it
know,
speaks of
what
the
does
human
striking
spirit.
involve? Why would anybody strike? Why would I strike someone? Why would I have? You know, I've hit my kid before. You know, why? Because had so much rage. Because I'm blaming this kid for something, right? So there's blame, there's ignorance. You know, all of it is in there, especially ignorance, right? It's all
Just learning
steeped
about
in thinking they're doing something that doesn't suit my schedule. So, right? So then you can attack that. Oh my God,
But I
I
still
thought
keep going.
they're doing it to me in front instead of I'm creating them
I've been struggling a little
So-
bit with the karma piece, right?
like that.
Because
Leonardo had a
why
good
they're
suggestion.
experiencing
She had troubles with this too, and she wanted like lists of ideas of what other people would put as an entry. So I said to her, maybe we can make some Google Sheets or something where people can
No,
just add
not at
in
all.
We
examples.
talked about that too.
Did you?
Yeah.
That might be helpful for
Yeah.
some
I mean,
people, right?
collectively,
Yeah.
the Aboriginal
Just get some ideas down of what you
have
can write
suffered so
Yeah, we had the same conversation where we thought we'd have like a Dharma meeting and then put up sheets around the room with the vows and then everybody go
But
around
I mean, I don't
vow to
have.
vow and write down. That way you get
You guys
ideas.
are the
you
school
know, go
school
back.
teachers.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking
But I'm
on
hoping,
computer, you know,
for
Yeah.
women,
sending it all out that way.
That's
Yeah.
just techno savvy.
Well, not really, but I
It will
like that's
stop
easier
and
for me. But
things will
that's
shift.
yeah. Well, do it like that. I mean, that's great. That
Like
would
just
be
have a
awesome.
coffee and then have
Have all your charts up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great.
they do that in the class, right? Kids do that in the class, just write on chart paper.
These are the bodhisattvas.
I
It's first
did
hand.
mine. I keep changing how I do stuff. So right now I'm doing it like this. I've got 4 vows here, and then I do other stuff on the back. And I do the 4 vows like that.
4 vows a day.
No, I do my 4 vows on one page, and then the next 2 here, and then I have my meditation, best, worst, and other.
What was in the book, in the photocopy of the book?
Yeah.
Like you photocopied the pages?
No, I typed it out.
Oh,
into
you
my
made your own.
Yeah. I was
So
using.
are you saying you're circling through 4?
No, I'm showing you how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I've got 4 on this page.
Oh, okay, and then you do 2
The next 2, and then
I
my
see.
So
meditation
6,
and my
you're
best
circling through
words.
6 a day.
Great. Wow, you're going all out. Good for you.
Just trying. I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts. I just try different methods.
Yeah.
I tried Nishi's calendar, her Google
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
And then I tried the little book like you have.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to see this time.
Yeah.
Gotta make it your own. It's
You
gotta
do.
work.
You do. You really do.
Are you keeping a little book?
Yeah, I'm keeping one small so I can keep it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here it comes. Oh, what else?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
some
you.
of the vows are, yeah, that's why I'm circling through the first 10.
Yes.
Yeah, some of them are fun to not be so good sometimes. You gotta be like really expanded out.
And I love
I'm not sure. I'm trying to put the seeds in place. I hope so. I hope so.
I do want to.
I would.
It's time
So I don't know how it's
when I can do it another time.
and plus I have books. We'll see. I'm
To think outside the box.
classes. I'm here today, which is yeah. And I do listen to loud
So I was wondering whether you were doing this 6 because there's more vows too.
There's 147.
You're circling through different ones.
So I do cycle throughs, but then quite a few of them are like, you know how you do that first they crop up
Yeah,
one
because you keep
format.
this you since you're circulating them, you'll see them every other day.
When you do 147, they'll show up worded slightly differently.
Just like
And you have Fridays off?
no, there can't be that many different ones.
Apparently they have I think they have like
Yeah.
something like some of it's 85. I was there.
Ways to
Something
Jesus.
wrong. I don't know how to try to do it. Just like in or something. I'm using my own words now.
I know.
And then they condense it down to there's so many
Just something. It had nothing to do with
That's the way we can make
147
mistakes.
Did you work at the hospital? HEH?
nothing.
I don't know. I don't have
We're
a
always
word.
gonna
It's really some huge amount. Putting them on my iPhone works so well. It's got to be on a day when I'm not doing other stuff. And it gets irritating because those 2.5 hours come so quickly.
Meal Fun's good, you know, at least you're kind of
Yeah, meal time's a good one.
you know,
Yes.
space or and then it kind of shifted. So I still have a full life, but it's not anymore.
Mariska, I mean, we were talking about karma, and I remember Lama John saying, yeah, we don't know when seeds ripen, so
Yeah.
karma could be from the past life.
True.
Right? That's what we're
Yeah, they say it can either ripen this life, the next, or any time after that.
So whatever is happening here could be from the past.
Well, absolutely. Yeah,
Like way past.
absolutely.
That's why they blame Adam and Eve, you see.
Oh.
But the more wisdom you gain, the quicker stuff will ripen. Yeah, you hear people that are in retreats, long retreats. They get really quiet and they get a good sense of what's going on, and they know, like, when they have a bad thought in the morning, a couple hours go by and they'll burn themselves on the stove, or they stub their toe, and they see the direct correlation. When you go really deep and quiet, with the intention of becoming enlightened, things can ripen really quickly. The more wisdom you have, the more quick things go. Yeah. And because we don't know if this is from way long, it's great for us to come here and to keep planting all those seeds, to receive more teachings, to keep it all going in our mind, right? In our world. So let's move on to the last proof. This will take a couple minutes. And that's actually the proof that we will unpack next week about desire. Let's consider the mind of a normal person at the moment of death. The mind crosses the line into a similar state of mind into the next life. Why? Because it possesses desire. What possesses desire? The mind at the moment of death. So what is desire? It's ignorant desire of liking things and grasping to this life and this body as you die. So these emotions of desire cause the mind to cross the line into the next life as a continuation of the mind. So he's saying that because a normal person's mind has desire at the moment of death, that the mind must cross over into a similar state of mind at death. So supposedly that you are an arhat. What's an arhat, people?
Enlightened?
Nope.
Nirvana.
That's when you have reached nirvana. You have no longer any mental afflictions, but you can still be in this world, right? So when you have no mental afflictions, you're not grasping to anything. You don't want anything because you know nothing has any power to ever make you happy anyways, right?
Can I ask, do they get nirvana? Does the person have nirvana by enlightenment? Is that how it works?
Could you say that again?
Does a person have nirvana by reaching enlightenment or not?
No.
Or just by seeing emptiness?
Yes.
How does that work? They see emptiness.
They see emptiness. By seeing emptiness, their wisdom is now, you always know that things are your projection, right? I was reading this book last night called Rebel Buddha, and I like it. But he was giving the analogy of Disneyland, and I thought that was great. Imagine yourself walking around through the haunted house, Maybe you get some fear, maybe you have lots of enjoyment, but it's not real. So anything that you feel, you're not tricked by it, okay? So any of the rides or the things that they have in Disneyland or any other attraction park, right? So I'd like that analogy a lot to understand being someone who has perceived emptiness directly. You're still in the world, you still see all these things, but you know that it's not real in the sense of it being out there happening to you. You know that you are creating all this, right? So when you see emptiness directly and you have this realization, then because you know things aren't the way they appear, all the stuff starts to fall off until, anytime you shine this wisdom, which now happens automatically because of having this realization, it will happen really quickly. The next step is to become an arhat, which is someone who has no more mental afflictions, who is completely happy all the time. But they're not quite yet a Buddha. Some parts of Buddhism say that when you've reached enlightenment, you are in nirvana. But in our course, we say no. Because when we reach, we say when you reach Buddhahood, you have everybody else in mind, right? You want to do it for the sake of all beings.
How would one do that? How does one know then that one? How does one progress from there? Or do you want this
by having that wish in your heart,
and then you see emptiness again, or perceive it, or another type of? I'm being very simplistic right
No,
now.
it's all right. Let's just say for now that after you see emptiness directly, you'll become an arhat. So what they're saying right here is, suppose you are an arhat, you have already gotten rid of all your crap. So your next life will be one where it won't be samsaric, because you've already done all that work. Okay? So your mind will continue on, but not as a suffering being. Okay? You will not have a suffering rebirth, because your mind doesn't have that desire anymore, that ignorant desire. So we'll talk about this next week some more. That's the whole topic of class 10. What is the nature of desire as you die, and why does it cause you to be reborn? So,
Mariska, I have a question regarding death and karma for young kids. Because a young child's mind is so innocent, pure, and hasn't been really developed or exposed to the elements of life, their projection or their views of the world might be more egocentric, let's just say, because it's young children are really trying to self-discover. I guess that's a karmic link from the past that they're bringing into their body in the present, but they're to repeat it again. I'm confused by that.
Well, how is that different than any adult? We are all super self-centered. Are we not?
Because we have expanded time to actually discover that, or come to that aha. As a young child who's 3 or 2, that would be very challenging to do it within the first primary years of their life.
But you see, that is, that's totally a karma too, because some kids are not like that. I happen to have one living at my house who is not like that, who's always been blowing me away by being so extremely sweet and generous to anybody, and is not hardly ever putting herself first, right? Always making offerings to her mom, and I didn't teach her that. So what does that mean, The kids who are super self-absorbed and are greedy and grasping and this and that, that is just a continuation from the life before, because that's how they were, right? So when you plant certain seeds, then it will affect your future. So whatever it is that you plant. Does that make sense?
My mind's
think
kind of going
about.
off. It's like, why so young? And then these are just questions, I guess, that are questions. And why so young, and why come in just for that year to do that? It's almost like like these are, or even newborns that come in and pass on, right? They don't even have the opportunity for that.
Yeah, so it
that's
could
what
not
I'm
have been from this life, right? If newborns are born and they have to die, that has nothing to do because they hadn't even have a chance to do misdeeds in this life, right? So that obviously,
Is a karma from the past
From
that
before.
just not able to
yeah.
come into the space
Yeah.
then to experience that.
But also, I think what's important to say is how you see children being egocentric or whatever is your karma too, because
Well,
how the child sees himself or how the mother or their best friend or whatever sees them, they might not have that projection, right?
Well, yeah, I don't see that, but I work with kids a lot, so I see all dynamics of all sorts, and I see these and others, and just the
Sure.
mix. So yes, this is probably true.
Yeah.
My question is when you see a newborn who doesn't even have the ability to transpire any emotion or any, well, I mean, not any. They can't plant any seeds. They can't harvest anything. They can't experience anything. So when they pass over, let's say they're under one and they pass over to the other side, I guess karmically they make a choice to whether they want to come back here in that space of.
No.
Okay.
They
am I
cannot make a
making
choice. Their karma will
make
will
their
propel
decision.
them to come back in whatever form, right? Yeah.
I think I get it. Well, I mean,
No, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's good to think about, but you're saying they have no chance to reap anything or to plant anything. Well, that's not true, because remember I said 65 times every finger snap. That's how many imprints we are making, right? So a baby definitely plants lots of karma each day, each minute, each second.
but we talked about death, and we said we also mentioned that in those last few minutes.
Oh, about desire. you mean.
Yes, and
Okay.
that desire moves on to the choice you get to make on your next life.
Sure.
Well, a newborn wouldn't have that ability to have those, or can they? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's not about. For a baby, it wouldn't be about choice, but it would be. It would be about their state of mind, which I don't know. What how their mind works at that young age. I don't know, but karmically, what they need will happen to them, and in time they will move their way up. Like we all do. So it just takes some time. But I understand your question. They don't. But many adults don't make that choice. You're saying choice either, right? If you are living in a way where you are not exposed to teachings, where you're thinking everything works in an ignorant way, in a self-existent way.
But they have 70, 80, whatever years to have that opportunity to find it. Is that karmic?
But many don't, just like the baby, right? So that will propel their next birth, right? Many people are not thinking about that consciously. Many people are not thinking about that at all. But they will be propelled in the next birth, depending on that. So depending on what this baby, maybe even the last life or the life before, will help propel this baby in the next life. Who knows? All right. So I think we're basically done. The last proof was that it's not the physical form, the elements, or the living tissue that cause the body, but the mind. As the body's form is determined by the mind, by the past mental karma, right? And not by atoms. So we'll talk more next week, last class, about this whole desire triggering births things. Any other questions?
Course 5 next.
Course 5 next. Yeah.
Same time, same place.
Same time, same place. April 10th we'll start it. Because the week before is a holiday, so I thought we'll just skip 2 weeks. And I'm excited about that course. That's a very nice course. But first we'll finish this one. Thank you for hanging in there, everyone.
Thank you.
So let's close out.
Here is the great earth,
Filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers, the great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyayatiyam. By the goodness of what I have just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit existence. Thank you. So today Doug Bainhoff has arrived. He is a teacher who lives in the States. He's come every year, twice, and he leads retreats. So that's starting tonight. That will be a weekend thing. So tonight it's 7 to 9, and then tomorrow it starts at 10, and then I'm not sure until 3:30. But I'm not sure if you could drop in halfway through. I don't know. But it will be meditation. I don't know if you know more details than me. No, it'll be meditation based. He's rather amazing teacher. So, and then on Monday they leave for 2 weeks to go to Bloom Lake with him for a retreat. So, but for the urban retreat, you can drop in if you join in. And that would be at Lama John's house. So tonight at 7, should you be interested. Thank you.